Thank you all for coming out today. I want to share a little bit about how we got into this. So about a year and a half ago, a woman who was attending our church approached our pastor. She'd been searching for work on her own for a while, and so she approached our pastor with a question and a really big idea. She wanted to know, weren't there others in our congregation who were seeking work also? And if so, why not start a support group for the congregation's job seekers? So that, in effect, is how our Meaningful Work group was born. So basically endowed with nothing more than a name for the group and a key to the church, we met one morning early before service. There was a group of about 5 of us. And of course, we knew each other by sight, and some of us even knew each other by name. But until that moment, we had absolutely no idea that we were each adrift at sea in our own boats. Why was that? I think that, when you think about it, the church community is where we should have been able to kind of let our hair down, be ourselves, be able to feel vulnerable and express that vulnerability to others. It's the place where we should have been able to just come and say, I'm struggling with this. I need help. I need prayer. But the truth is, the world that we inhabit 6 days a week is one that values individualism and it values self-sufficiency. And so as a consequence, we were embarrassed. I mean, if we were out of work, it had to have been our own fault, right? So instead, we just suffered in silence. Church for many of us was the one place where we sought to maintain our dignity and our, sense of self. It's the last place we wanted to lose face. And I suspect that if the church gave Oscars for keeping up appearances, most of our churches would be contenders. Because you can look around just about anywhere on a Sunday at a coffee hour in the most amiable and welcoming of churches and have no clue whatsoever that anyone is struggling. So our first meeting began warily, simply by introducing ourselves to each other and telling each other a little bit about our stories, how we ended up where we were. So you can't imagine our surprise to discover that across the board we shared 2 things in common. The first was that everyone related a story in which effectively they felt they had been bullied out of their last position by taking a principled stand on some matter. The second was, for some reason or another, one way or another, they had, in that same time frame or shortly thereafter, either lost a spouse one way or another or a life partner. So how amazingly empowering it was to discover suddenly that you weren't alone. One of the things that about this recession is that even the Department of Labor has noted that it's the most devastating since the Great Depression. Not only were there fewer jobs, but the process for finding one has changed radically. One thing is that so much is on the internet. Now, if you submit a resume, which in most cases you have to do, online, you should know, and if you've been out of the job search for a while, you wouldn't know this, but the words in your resume have got to match exactly the words in the job description because they're being screened by a machine that's making the first cut. And the machine doesn't understand synonyms. So you either mirror what's in that job description or you might as well not apply. The other thing is that so many jobs that are out there have really been farmed out to third-party recruiters. So they're really following those words in the same way, however devoid of meaning they may be. And the other thing to note is that most jobs that are posted don't really exist. For one reason or another, either because, well, the job exists, but truthfully, they've already picked the candidate. Or they're really just there in order to comply with the compliance requirements that exist these days for, equal opportunity and so on. So the process, especially if you don't understand what's going on, is frustrating, it's opaque, it's ever-changing, and it's exhausting. And then there's the amount of time it takes to find a job. Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that it now takes twice the amount of time to find a job than it used to in, say, 2007. At last count, it was 10.5 months, if you're lucky. And it's so bad that last year, the President of the United States had to issue a presidential memo to the federal agencies to ask them not to discriminate against the long-term unemployed, which is defined as people who've been out of work for more than 6 months. So I guess the question really comes down to, what can we as Lutherans do to handle the challenges of today's job market? What role can our faith play, and how can we use our gifts in meeting these challenges? We are drawn together by the Holy Spirit into community, to pray for each other, to listen to one another, to learn from one another, and to encourage each other. The church is a place for people to be vulnerable and to learn to be themselves with one another. Anytime a community of even a small number forms around an issue, everybody in that community gains something. Why does God call us into community with one another? Because we can, in this world, accomplish much more together than we can ever accomplish by ourselves. And let's face it, most of those conversations you have with yourself, all they do is get you stuck. But conversations we share with others illuminate all of the participants. And here's a radical thought. We accomplish more working for another than we do working for ourselves. In our group, what we've been unable to do for ourselves, we suddenly found the wit and the wisdom to do for each other. Our group met weekly, and sometimes one-on-one with each other between those meetings to share and seek out our resources and to test out ideas and strategies dealing with that Lulu process that exists out there for finding a job. Because one of the most devastating effects of being unemployed is feeling diminished and small. And it's hard to tell yourself. If you feel worthless. So, inspired by the Gospel of Matthew 5:13 through 30, you are the salt of the earth, but if saltiness has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? We began demonstrating our belief in the outstanding talents that each other offered. And further inspired by you are the light of the world, let your light so shine before others that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. We helped write each other's resumes to reflect that story. When group members got interviews, we supported each other by conducting practice interviews. We not only believed in each other's abilities and talents, we became each other's advocates. We buttonholed other members of the congregation and combed through our Rolodexes, our own Rolodexes, for job leads and contacts for other members of the group. We even accompanied, in one case, another member to an interview. So imagine what we as Lutherans could accomplish if we did this on a national level. During the AIDS epidemic, our church adopted as its motto, God's people are tested. During the economic crisis, we took the approach, God's people are employed. So the support caused some people in our group to rethink the type of work they were searching for in the first place. Because our view was that no employer wants to know what you have in common with everyone else. He wants to know what makes you unique and individual. Because as Richard Bowles, the author of the Career Reinvention Bible, that you probably are familiar with this, What Color is Your Parachute? Says, the inventory of your uniqueness is crucial to finding meaningful work. In other words, God made you special, especially for the work He wants you to do. And I am happy to report that within 5 months, all members of our original group received offers of meaningful full or part-time employment. The member whose bold suggestion initiated the group was hired as a school counselor by a private school in Qatar. And I want to share with you the message she sent back, letting us know that she and her 4-year-old daughter had arrived safely in Doha. Please know this, that it takes a village, not just to raise a child, but to live as an adult. We need each other. I don't believe in suffering in silence. The Bible is full of incidents of people crying out for help and asking to be healed. So ask and find. Knock and the door will be open to you. I'm so glad I found you, my family. Without you guys, my job search and find would have been very lonely. Thank you.